Okay, so we've got some assets in. Um, oh, I didn't cover navigation. That's a bit silly, isn't it? You guys should already know this, but if you hold down right click on your mouse, you can look around the scene. W, A, S, and D will move you back and forth. Q goes down, E goes up. And if we're moving assets around, we should use these snapping tools to control the thickness, well, not the thickness, the degree of snap. So if I start rotating this object around, it snaps in 20-degree increments, and that's controlled by this 20 here. So if we want 5 degrees, yeah. Or similarly, if we want to turn it off and just go kind of degree at a time for finesse. But in an ideal world, if we've given some thought and planning to our level layout, we should be able to keep rotation and the move snap on to have it help us lay things out nice, quick, and seamlessly. Right, materials. So, if we wanted a new material, and let's say I do, I'm going to delete these materials. Pause delete. The object's going to go weird, and we can see that because the object's selected, I can see that the material slots are now empty. So, I'm going to right click in the content browser, just down here. Right click. I'm going to create a new material. I'm going to name this one metal. And if I just double click on it to open it up, what we're going to get is the material editor. I'll make it full screen for now. I'll make this preview nice and big so you guys can see it. Whoop. Right. So this is our output node. This is where we're plugging in all of our textures that we've made in Photoshop or any of our utility nodes from this window here. It's all going to stream out into a few. We're going to focus on just kind of four. We're going to focus on 4 outputs today. So, right, first things first, if we search for vector 3, constant vector 3, we're going to drag this out into the view. We could also hold down 3 on the keyboard and just left click, and it will do the same thing. And I'm going to drag the output node from this constant vector 3, or vector 3 as I call it from now on, into the base color. So the ball, it goes black. I think it was already black. But if we double click on it, we can use the eyedropper tool to really quickly pull out a color. So I'm going to go for metal legs, which are going to be, I'm going to go for a purpley blue. Let's be a bit different. Alright, let's just click on that, I can relocate the node, or right click to reposition this graph window. Alright, so I'm going to press down, hold down 1 on the keyboard this time to make a vector 1. So vector 1 is a 0, it's a numerical or a linear variable. So if I drag it up, there you go. So decimal places, it's a float. But a vector 3 has got 3 color. It's got 3 channels, which are also all numerical, shown here, but they're automatically assigned to red, green, and blue. So those come together. If I put in 0 and 0, we're just going to have red, a little red ball. If I go back, change the 0 there, 1 on the green. Okay, but no one ever chooses colors like that. There we go. So it's back to purple. Right. Whereas if I was to, I don't think I can oh, there we go. So if a constant 1, if the value in the details tab on the left is set to 0, it's pure black. Set it to 1, the value becomes white. Okay. So in this case, we're going to use this constant vector 1 and plug it into the metallic. So as soon as I've done that, this is going to render completely. It's a bit hard to see like this. So we're told it, if we just quickly use that as an example, we're gonna live update. I'm gonna right click, break the link, and we're just gonna quickly make a comparison. So right now, the ball is essentially not purple. Of course, it's purple. It's plastic. But if I plug the constant 1 into metallic, the way it renders this material, it's going to use a completely different algorithm. I'm going to change this. I'm going to be meta and go for kind of a sandy yellow for gold. It's just a bit easier to see what's going on. Alright, so we've got a goldish ball. And create another constant 1 by holding 1 on the keyboard. I could search for vector 1 over here, or vector. Constant vector, 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 vector. Okay, constant. There it is, it's constant. Okay, so it's just a constant. Right, so I'm going to drag this constant into the roughness. So we've got our color node, and already we can see the preview is radically different. The metalness and the roughness. So the roughness is responsible for how light refracts off of this. So at the moment when light hits this ball, we're getting a perfect reflection of the environment that's around it. Because the roughness is set to 0, it's 100% smooth. There's no noise. When the light hits the surface, it comes back with the exact same force, creating a perfect replication of the environment. Right. So if I instead increase the value to maybe 0.4, so the roughness is relatively rough. Maybe it looks like a kind of more scratched up metal. Or if I 0.2, I think it would be a better example. We can still see some of that reflection in there. I'm going to turn off live update. But by comparison to when the roughness was 0, the light is hitting the surface and it's refracting around, and we don't have that perfect reflection anymore. Okay. The last thing, if we press 1 again and click, we're going to drag it into specular. What should happen now? Okay, it doesn't happen in metalness. So if we're making a metal, specular doesn't work. I'll show you this in another one, a different material. So at this point we say, right, this is going to be a metal bedpost. So let's make the color back to a bluey purple. And choose just quickly whilst I'm in this window, the metalness is always only 0 or 1, true or false. Okay, so 0 is false, it is a metal, 1, true, metal. No material in the real world is, kind of a metal. So the roughness for the bedpost, it's at the foot of a bed, probably gets hit a lot, maybe 0.45. Right, come on. Yeah, I'll do, but I think it looks a bit wacky having such a crazy color. Let's get it a little bit darker. There we go. Yeah, we'll go with that. Like a midnight pearl. So with that done, now what I can do is, has that already signed itself? No. Element 3. Clear. Not sure why it's assigned. If I drag this out to element 0, okay, we've got metal pillars, metal bed frame, no. Okay, and now the bottom one just cleared itself. I'm just going to undo those. I'm going to drag the metal onto the element 3 at the very bottom. I've got my little metal bedpost, or the feet of the bed are metal. Okay, so let's make a wood really quick. Right, there we go. Right, so right clicking, create a new material, wood. Double click, open it up. So we'll press 3 to create a constant vector 3, link that to base color. We'll use the eyedropper to choose a kind of a peachy pine kind of color. This time we don't need to put a constant into metal because it's going to be false. It's wood. If we leave it empty, it will default to false. And I'm going to disconnect that for a second. So I'm right click on the specular, break link. So roughness is going to be, maybe it's quite a nice wood. So let's put it to 0.2. I don't think wood is ever going to be that shiny, but oh no, I can't do it. 0.8. There we go. All right. So even that is probably a little bit high. No, 0.2. Right. So now we've got our roughness. It's really high. For the sake of the example, we can quite clearly see highlights on the ball, right? If we now plug in this 0 to specular, what's going to happen is all of those highlights get sucked out. So it gives us the ability to control how much. So a value of 1 is going to be 100%. All of the highlights are there. 0 is completely gone. 0.5 It should dial it back 1.1. Is it doing it? Let me just quickly change it to 1 again, just for comparison. Yeah, so in terms of the actual reflection here, we still had quite a bright highlight at the top corner. We've changed it down to 0.1. The reflection in the middle is completely gone, but we've still got some of that reflection up top. Right, so I'm still going to change that roughness to maybe 0.5, just so it's higher than I think that's in the right region. So we'll just save that, minimize the screen. Come on, bang. So we'll drag out the wood rather than dragging it into this window. If I just drag it onto the bits of the mesh I want it on, it's automatically going to put it in the right slot. Okay, so we've got that. So we'll say, right, okay, the last ones, rather than making a new one for both of these, fabric, we'll say, right, the fabric is going to have, so clicking one, clicking left once, dragging into roughness. Fabric has like 0.95 roughness. We ain't going to get any reflection on fabric. Specularity, I'm going to put this in because I want control over how reflective it is. And hold 3, making a colour. What colour bed sheets we're going for? We've got an amber, so that means amber, green. We'll go for a horrible green set of bed sheets. Okay, so that's hideous. Right, let's give it. So if I put a value of 1 back in, is that going to do anything really? Yeah, I think it was better. So with no specularity around the edges, it's just a little bit less. Watch out, it looks a bit like a rubber ball right now. If I was trying to push this towards more realism, I'd use a normal map. You're welcome to go off and Google how to make normal maps now, but I will cover it later on after the first assessment. So we just drag this out onto the mattress and onto the pillows. Oh boy, that's a nice bed. So now, if I drag it out, it's going to preserve the materials each time. Okay. And the last thing I need to make sure we do is, if we go to File, Save Current. So what we've just done is we've saved the current map, and that will be in side scroller. So if you go back to Content, side scroller BP, Maps, side scroller example map. But if we wanted to make another level where we tried out different level layouts, if we right click this and duplicate, and we'll call this J's second map. And in J's second map, if I just double click on it, we'll save everything that needs saving. In this version, maybe it's bed simulator. Okay. Bang, bang. All right. So I'm going to press Control and S or File, Save Current, and I've got 2 maps there, J's second map and the default, which was the side scroller example. If I double click on the example, we'll go back, we've got 1 bed, double click on J's second map, 6 beds. Okay, so from here, what I would like you to do, I can just find my notes. We've saved our map, we've import. Yeah, right. So next up, what I'd like you to actually do is in your folder. In an ideal world, we should have made these materials in their own folder. So right click, new folder, materials. I'm just going to quickly drag them into this folder, move here. And because the folder is inside of the static mesh folder, if I click on this little icon, I can show the hierarchy. And I can drag the materials folder onto J's folder. And it's no longer a child of static mesh. So what I'd like you to do next is actually start building your own levels. So if we try to play now, the player can just jump through these, easy peasy, right? So what we need to do is actually assign collisions to our mesh. Oh, world's best gamer there. So I'm going to go into my stack meshes, and if I double click on bed 1, I've got the mesh editing window here. So I can assign the materials so that they're always assigned to this model wherever I put it. That would be kind of best practice. But what we're here for this time is adding collisions. So we had collisions, simple, and show complex. So at the moment, when I turned on simple, nothing happened because I told it not to generate new meshes. If we'd gone through the proper pipeline, we would have exported our own custom collisions for this mesh. But when we turn on complex, we already have collisions there where it's taking the vertices and the polygons and using that to decide a collision map. So what I'd like you to do is, with the object selected, just scroll down, and I wanted you to change the collision complexity from project default to use complex collisions as simple. So now, I'm going to turn off complex, turn off simple, turn on simple. We can see it has collisions again. So save it, close this window. Yes, we'll save that, sure. And if we go back into the game, we can now walk on the beds, and we should be able to start building a 2D platform of our own. Okay.